I tell kids that, and I tell my students that they should not look over their shoulder, they should be themselves and find their own way, and that they will slowly realize that they will become the expert in their work, and that nobody else is an expert in their work, and that they will have and so it doesn't matter what somebody else says. I mean, yeah, maybe they won't like it, but at least you're still in control, you're still the expert in your work. And over time, if it's any good, it'll find its way into the bigger picture. And it may be great and not find its way into the bigger, like Van Gogh didn't when he was alive. But who's to say what's good and what's bad in the end? So for one's own life, I think that's where you go. You find your own thing, you relate to it, it's your strength, and you can have a pretty good life if you don't look over your shoulder and try and be what the next person is, because you can't be what they are anyway. So that's what I tell kids, and I try to do that myself.
At the time at the AA, there was a lot of pressure to have ideas, or to have concepts, to have a concept and idea, and then how to develop the idea further. And so it was very important that you know how you operate. At the beginning, you don't really, it's quite intuitive and do things, whatever. And then you have to really be very conscious about how you resolve certain things.
Yes, it was an
so you have to kind of have a certain clarity of thinking and knowing what the objective is. You have to always have clarity on what you're trying to get at the end.
What was your first job as an architect, Mr. Wright?
Well, I think I wanted to be an architect, and as near as I could get to it. In Madison, we were poor. We had no money to send me to an architectural school, and Madison, our home, had an engineering school, and a very kind dean, Professor Conover, gave me a stipend to work for him and work my way through the course at the university, and I worked my way almost through it. If I'd stayed 3 months longer, I would have been given a degree as an engineer, but I was anxious to be an architect, and so I started out for Chicago 3 months before I would have graduated. And I suppose you could say that my work for Conover, perhaps, as an engineer, designing clips and little details of ironwork, was my first architectural job.
My advice to a young artist, a young architect, is, first of all, does architecture or art, sculpting, painting, drawing, is that what you really, really want to do more than anything else in the world? And you would do anything to be able to do it, because it really, really fires you. If that's the case, you've made the right choice, and you go for it, and you immerse, totally saturate it, you live it every living second of your life. If you don't believe in it that much, then you have to find something that you believe in, something else. And it doesn't really matter what it is, because in life, I think you'll find that everything is creative.
Was his sense of organization, of order, of clarity, of his sense of detail. As he said, God lies in the details. I still believe that. A lot of architects just say the idea is the thing. If you have an idea, that'll carry it. It won't. It's the detail that carries the building. And he taught that. And it shows in the Seagram building, which I watched him design. I was listed as a co-designer. That isn't fair. He did it. And all the little parts. So it's fun next time you go by is to look at the way the little mullion, the thing that holds the windows apart. Just see how that's, if you look up carefully enough, you'll see how that is sculpted. That was hand sculpted by Mies van der Rohe himself, the shape of that thing. It's not simple. It looks simple.
For any artist, I would say, or designer, architect, it is important to work on yourself, because each one of us is a construction. I have constructed myself, you have constructed yourself. It is this self-construction which is so important as a young person. And you can do it by swallowing the works of others, having friends among artists and writers and poets and handicraft people. That's how you build up and construct yourself. And only after that there's a hope that you can also create something by yourself.
Do you know what an architect is? An architect is someone who can see the nature of things before they exist. Someone who knows how to put in order and arrange things in a form that's three-dimensional, but with feeling. Feeling is life. Whenever we go wrong, it's because of the head. And the head is only an instrument of control. An architect should not be vague. Geometry is his language. With geometry, he must find the right form for each use with the exact shape to give it its character.